Pretty much since the release of Sonic Heroes, each time a new mainline Sonic game has been announced, the speculation train would leave Wishful Thinking Station on an express journey to Sonic Adventure 3. Without fail. A trend that has probably only increased in severity with each passing game right up to Frontiers. But what is this obsession with Sonic Adventure 3? And exactly what constitutes a Sonic Adventure 3 anyway? A game that carries on the story of 2? We kinda got that immediately afterwards in Sonic Heroes. A game that has adventure in the title? Well, we got that too. Kinda. Or a game that uses a similar story delivery method and gameplay style. Cause we definitely got that. I think you know where I'm going here. The idea that we've gotten one or more Sonic Adventure 3s by stealth already is actually a common mindset in the fanbase. Whether it be the narrative of Heroes picking up right where Sonic Adventure 2 left off, Sonic 06 with its style of storytelling, characterizations, and gameplay, or Sonic Unleashed getting that all too enticing adventure in its title, in Japan. But personally, I usually take a big step back here to recognize one simple, glaring fact. Sega themselves have never deemed fit to actually call a game Sonic Adventure 3. I mean, it's not like something like this went very wrong for them before, right? They have absolutely no reason for the prospect of making this game causing them to retch with anxiety. After all, we are a perfectly reasonable and forgiving fanbase with concise and uniform expectations as to exactly what we want Sonic Adventure 3 to be. But what if we did get Sonic Adventure 3? After all this time, what would that game even be? Do we actually want it as much as we think we do? And what would Sonic Team need to do to make it worthy of its title? One of the most important categories that any potential Sonic Adventure 3 would have to align itself with is the characters. Characterization was such a huge part of the adventure era, where each character was given the time and space to actually tell their story. These games were known for the concerted effort they made to get the audience invested in their characters. Was this always managed perfectly? No. But for the most part, the growth and trajectory for each character was a wonderfully distinct experience, one that was clearly communicated to the player. Sonic Team actually gave us all a reason to care about its characters. Who wasn't emotionally invested in Shadow, heartbroken by Gamma, or overjoyed at the growth of Tails and Amy? And I guess the uncomfortable question we have to ask here is, can we say that same level of audience investment would exist now if Sonic Adventure 3 released tomorrow? I mean, let's face it, from a characterization perspective, most of these characters are now near enough unrecognizable compared to their Adventure era versions. Motivations, personalities, even backstories have changed from one character to the next. And I honestly think there would need to be a lot of prep work done in order to properly restore the required depth of these fantastic characters. And that's to say nothing of all the new characters and the relentless nonsensification of pretty much every facet of the series lore. This would all have to be undone or otherwise sidestepped in some way. Most of these characters used to have deep and intricate connections to the narrative and each other. Arcs were carefully developed and seen through to the end. Relationships were mostly well planned and interesting. The thematic dissonance between the Sonic games of today and those of the Adventure era is certainly no small hurdle for Sonic Team to overcome. If they ever intend to deliver a truly faithful sequel, one worthy of that Sonic Adventure 3 title, an adjustment period in the form of a bridge game would definitely help to recalibrate the audience with these characters. Whether or not Frontiers will be the game to do that, though, is another question entirely. Ian Flynn coming on board to write after the release of Pontaff is definitely an encouraging sign, but like anything else in this series, it's best not to get carried away until you actually see the final product. Either way, after so much time being defined purely by shaking their pom-poms and cheering their little hearts out for Sonic, the only character that's seemingly mattered for so long now, some serious work is needed to restore these once amazing characters to their former glory. Another crucial aspect of the adventure games that any potential third installment would have to do justice, and it's an obvious one, is the story. After 06, there was a seismic shift in how Sonic games delivered their stories. with a further shift not long after in the types of stories being told. Sonic would become the main focal point of every narrative, leaving very little room for a supporting cast to stumble around on the fringes. I mean, let's be real here, at best they served as nothing more than eye candy. At worst, shallow attempts to dupe fans into believing their favorite characters still actually mattered. The adventure titles were calibrated in such a way as to not only make each and every character feel important, but went as far as to actually leverage each character or team as a delivery method for the game's story. You needed to experience the events of these games through the eyes of everyone in order to get full narrative closure. Everyone had their part to play. And while, like most things in this world, it wasn't all perfect, each person who appeared in the story actually had a reason for being there, each serving as their own piece of the larger narrative puzzle. There were no cameos, doesn't count, or soulless additions that served no purpose. That dissonance we spoke about earlier between the characters then and the characters now is also painfully true for the stories. Virtually nothing about them is the same outside of them featuring Sonic. So how could this gap be closed if they did want to create Sonic Adventure 3? Is it a gap that can even be closed? Or is the Adventure series so incredibly unique and a product of its time that it's not even possible to repeat? Well, with the, in my opinion, terrible writers of the meta era now gone, the opportunity technically is there to move the series towards whatever style of storytelling they like. Whether it be Ian Flynn staying on after Frontiers with a more involved role in creating the story, or, dare I dream, Shiro Miyakawa returning to do what he does best. Writing probably the best stories this series has ever seen. There's nothing physically stopping them returning to the adventure style of storytelling. It's just logistics and corporate red tape that would need to be overcome. They could bring back the adventure era voice actors, but they won't. Minus the amazing Dean Bristow and the army of young tail VAs, there's nothing at all stopping a dream team of creative and acting powerhouses returning to Sonic Team. That is, besides money and red tape. And I think that's always the part that bugs me more than anything else. But say we did get the perfect storytelling team. What then? When would this theoretical story occur in the timeline? So much time has passed and events taken place in the 2 decades since Sonic Adventure 2. Characters have come and gone, relationships have formed and died, events have occurred that have changed the landscape of Sonic's world. After 20 years, what could possibly make this game Sonic Adventure 3? We can make the characters and story delivery as faithful to the originals as possible, but 20 long years has left a lot of things to either be incorporated into the story or swept under the rug forever. But of course, we can't forget the last pillar of the Adventure era trinity, that being the all-important gameplay. Now, I don't think I need to point out the Rail Canyon-sized differences between the gameplay of today's Sonic games and that of the Adventure titles. We all have our own favorite Sonic gameplay styles, and to each their own and all that. But for me, I honestly feel there is zero room whatsoever for boost functionality in an adventure game. The beauty of these games was how they managed somewhat translating the momentum-based physics and speedy precision platforming of the classic titles into a 3D environment. Diluting this slightly slower but more precise gameplay by adding the boost ability would pretty much defeat the purpose for me. The gameplay needs to remain as consistent as possible, or why even bother making a sequel? As for multiple playable characters, while I feel this is 100% a must, I'd much prefer they found a way to include other characters in Sonic's style of gameplay, at least in terms of objectives, much like how the classics handled it. Don't get me wrong, shooting and treasure hunting could be fun, but I think for some semblance of mass appeal, it would be better to adapt other characters to the winning formula. Exactly how they would do this, though, is the main concern I would have. After so long prioritizing just Sonic and leaning on the boost formula for so many years, does Sonic Team even have the will or experience to go back to the adventure style of gameplay? How would they bridge that gap? Well, like most people, I think if Sega ever were considering making Sonic Adventure 3, they would probably first test the waters with remakes or remasters of the original games. Remasters are one thing. Shiny up the visuals, add higher resolutions, clean up the sound. But if they were to go down the full remake road, they would definitely need to do the grunt work of fully remaking the adventure engine from scratch, tuning the physics to within an inch of their lives to be as accurate as possible. Pretty much exactly what the retro engine did for the classic Sonic games. This would help adjust both developers and players to this style of Sonic game. It's been a long time. Polish and bugginess is yet another side of things that Sonic Team would need to get a handle on. Colors Ultimate, hell, even Sonic Origins had a fair few issues, and they're remakes of some of the most stable Sonic games there are. Communications and expectations up and down the corporate ladder is a big problem at Sega right now. You only have to look at what was said by the devs behind Origins to know that expectations are not realistic and that communications is severely limited. Sonic Frontiers marketing, anyone? Sonic Adventure 3 and the remakes that would likely pave the way for its existence will need all the time, care and attention that Sega has. Get this wrong, and coming back is insanely difficult. It took something as great as Sonic Mania to undo the PR damage of Sonic 4. You do this right, or you don't do it at all. There really can't be half measures here. My criteria for a proper Sonic Adventure 3, characters, story, gameplay, while each one might matter more to some than others, I think it's fair to say that a truly accurate adventure sequel would need all three. It could easily be the case that after the length of time that's passed since Adventure 2, and the expectations that have built up after hoping the next game would be a sequel over and over again, that most of us have probably developed impossible standards that this game could never meet. Preferred gameplay, dream voice actors returning, writing staff overhauls and rehires. It's a virtual labyrinth of hype and expectations, and I think that Sega and Sonic Team are acutely aware of this fact. Other franchises have had success with reviving past games. Crash, Spyro, Klonoa. Some even seen sequels developed that may otherwise have never seen the light of day. When done right, this sort of thing is definitely possible, but it's that done right part that scares me most. Would it be done right? I want Sonic Adventure 3 to be to the original adventure games what Mania was to the classics. How freaking painfully idealistic that is, though, isn't lost on me. We've seen it said time and time again that the desire is there in Sonic Team to make Sonic Adventure 3 and remaster the originals, but desire and action are two very different things, and whether or not they will ever have the courage to pull the trigger on anything is left entirely to speculation. But I'd like to hear what you guys have to say on this topic. What would your ideal Sonic Adventure 3 look like? Do you think Sega will ever give it the green light? What would your biggest hopes and fears be if they did? And which characters are your top picks to return? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you found yourself enjoying the video, don't forget to drop a like, subscribe to the channel, and make sure to hit that bell icon so you never miss a video. You can also join the channel Discord or follow me on Twitter. You'll find all the links in the description. But for now, a big thank you for watching, Adventure Heroes, and as always guys, take care.